You're listening to The Observing Eye. Pirate radio for the mind. Coming at you fresh from the computer hell cabin.
Hello, you beautiful lot. It is Sunday, the 1st of December, 2024, and you are listening to episode 93 of The Observing Eye, coming at you live from the computer hell cabin. Every week we get psychological, philosophical, and all manner of introspective. I'm David, and this week we are getting ourselves acquainted with Buer, the demon of philosophy. What if I told you that there is a demon, not one of chaos or destruction, but of wisdom? A being who doesn't bring fire and brimstone, but instead offers philosophy, ethics, and the secrets of the natural world. Imagine standing at a crossroads faced with the chance to summon this demon, much like Robert Johnson. Would you take the risk to learn what he has to teach? And what does it say about us as humans that we've always been drawn to forbidden knowledge, even if it might cost us everything? Today we are delving into the shadowy world of demonology, but not in the way you might expect. We are not here to talk about possessions or exorcisms. Instead, we're exploring a figure who stands at the intersection of wisdom and the occult. His name is Buer, and he's known as the demon of philosophy. Unlike the terrifying entities of horror films, Buer is a teacher, a guide even, offering insights into moral philosophy, natural sciences, and medicine. But of course, there's a catch. There always is. Buer's story is one of duality. He represents the allure of knowledge and the danger that comes with it. In many ways, he's a mirror to humanity's greatest ambition, our endless pursuit of understanding. But he also embodies a warning, one echoed across myths, religions, and philosophical traditions. The idea that seeking certain truths might lead us into forbidden territory. It's a theme that's as old as the serpent in the Garden of Eden, as enduring as the story of Icarus, and as modern as our current debates about AI, nuclear power, and genetic engineering. As a philosopher, or at least someone who spends far too much time pondering the human condition, I find Buer fascinating. What does it mean to have a demon associated with philosophy? What can this story teach us about the darker sides of intellectual pursuit? And perhaps most intriguingly, what does he reveal about the relationship between knowledge, power, and morality? In this episode, we'll start by exploring who Buer is, diving into his roots in demonological texts like the Ars Goetia. We'll look at his role as a teacher and healer, unraveling the symbolism behind his strange and striking appearance. Then we'll explore the philosophical and historical context of Buer's teachings. Why were demons like him associated with wisdom? What does this tell us about the nature of knowledge itself? Finally, we'll bring it all home by reflecting on how Buer's story still works in parallel with our modern lives, where the pursuit of truth often comes with ethical and existential dilemmas. So whether you're a lover of philosophy, a skeptic of the supernatural, or simply someone who is curious about the strange and mysterious, stay with me. Because by the end of this episode, you might just find yourself wondering, if you could summon Buer, would you? So let's start by unraveling the mystery of Buer. Who is this so-called demon of philosophy, and how did he come to occupy such an intriguing spot in the world of demonology? To understand Buer, we need to step back into the arcane realm of grimoires, ancient texts that served as guidebooks for summoning and interacting with supernatural entities. Buer is first mentioned in the Ars Goetia. Now, the Ars Goetia is no ordinary text. It is a guide to summoning and commanding spirits, and it has a long, fascinating history. If Buer is a puzzle piece, the Ars Goetia is the larger tapestry, woven with threads of mythology, magic, and even the fears and aspirations of the people who first created and used it. So what exactly is the Ars Goetia, and how did it come to be? The Ars Goetia is the first and perhaps the most infamous section of a larger work called the Lemegeton, or the Lesser Key of Solomon. This 17th century grimoire claims to be a manual for summoning and controlling 72 demons, each with unique abilities and characteristics. The name Goetia comes from the Greek word Goetia, which means sorcery or witchcraft, not tiny beard. And that gives us a clue about the kind of magic this text deals with. It's practical, earthy, and sometimes dangerous. Unlike divine magic, which seeks to invoke angels or higher powers for spiritual enlightenment, Goetic magic focuses on the spirits of the infernal realms. It's about harnessing their power to achieve worldly goals, whether that's gaining knowledge, wealth, influence, or even healing. In this sense, the Ars Goetia is less about abstract spirituality and more about control. Control of supernatural forces to bend them to the magician's will. The Ars Goetia then is essentially a catalogue of demons, 72 in total, including Buer. Each demon has an entry describing their rank, their powers, how they appear when summoned, and what they can do for the summoner. For example, some demons are said to teach sciences, reveal secrets, or locate hidden treasures. Others offer protection, incite love, or even influence the thoughts of others. But it's not just about listing names. The Ars Goetia also provides detailed instructions on how to summon and control these spirits. These instructions include rituals, symbols like the Seal of Solomon, and tools like the Magician's Circle, a sacred space meant to protect the summoner while they command the demon. The rituals are highly structured, emphasizing the importance of precision. After all, when you're summoning a demon, you really don't want to get it wrong. One of the most interesting aspects of the Ars Goetia is its connection to the legendary King Solomon. According to both biblical and folkloric traditions, Solomon was granted divine wisdom by God. But some stories go further, claiming that Solomon used this wisdom to control spirits and demons, compelling them to build the Temple of Jerusalem. Among the spirits mentioned in this grimoire is Buer, listed as a great president of hell, a high-ranking figure who commands 50 legions of demons. And while that sounds intimidating, Buer is far from the fiery, destructive archetype we usually associate with demons. Instead, Buer is described as a teacher. His primary role is to impart wisdom, moral philosophy, science, and even the medicinal use of herbs. He is said to have a calm temperament and an orderly nature, which makes him stand out amongst his more chaotic infernal peers. If anything, he's more like a supernatural professor than a malevolent entity. But what really sets Buer apart, what makes him unforgettable, is his bizarre, almost otherworldly appearance. In the Ars Goetia, Buer is depicted with the head of a lion, surrounded by 5 goat-like legs radiating outward in a star-like formation. If you're trying to picture it, think of a lion's head placed at the center of a 5-pointed star, with the points just made of legs instead of lines. It's a rather unsettling image, but also strangely geometric, almost like a living mandala. But why does Buer look this way? His form is open to interpretation. Some say the 5 legs symbolize movement in all directions, suggesting Buer's ability to traverse different realms of knowledge, philosophy, science, ethics, medicine, and so on. Others see his shape as a visual representation of balance and harmony, echoing the structured, logical nature of his teachings. And then, of course, there's the more mystical angle. Perhaps his appearance was meant to reflect something ineffable, a being whose form challenges the limits of human understanding. But what exactly does Buer do, apart from bubble about on 5 legs? Well, according to bubble about is a word. According to we're starting early today. According to demonologists, his teachings span 3 main areas: moral philosophy, natural science, and medicine. So first, let's look at moral philosophy. Now, this suggests that Buer has insights into ethics and human behavior, helping those who summon him grapple with questions of right and wrong. Then there's natural science, which in the context of the Renaissance and early modern period meant understanding the workings of the natural world, from astronomy to biology. Finally, Buer is said to offer knowledge of medicinal herbs, indicating an expertise in healing and practical applications of natural knowledge. Taken together, these attributes make Buer a figure of order, intellect, and pragmatism. But here's the catch. He is also a demon. We have to bear that in mind. What does it mean, then, that a being traditionally associated with hell would have such noble, even helpful abilities? That question is one that we're going to revisit throughout this episode, but for now, it's enough to say that Buer occupies a paradoxical space, a demon who brings light rather than darkness. To understand why someone would summon Buer, or why a demon like him would be associated with philosophy in the first place, we need to look at the historical context of the grimoires. In the medieval and early modern periods, philosophy wasn't just an academic discipline. It was often seen as a dangerous pursuit, one that could lead to heresy or even damnation if it strayed too far from the teachings of the church. Buer then might symbolize the forbidden nature of intellectual inquiry. He represents the kind of knowledge that challenges orthodoxy, the kind of wisdom that can liberate but also destabilize. After all, philosophy itself asks uncomfortable questions. What is the nature of good and evil? What does it mean to be human? And what happens when the answers to those questions contradict the prevailing worldview? So Buer is no ordinary demon. He is a figure steeped in complexity, offering knowledge that's both illuminating and dangerous depending on how it's used. But what does this mean for the people who summon him? And what can we learn from the fact that he was considered worth summoning at all? To answer that, we need to delve a bit deeper into the symbolic and philosophical significance of Buer, a journey that we're going to embark on next. Now that we've explored Buer's origins and the world of the Ars Goetia, it's time to address a central question. Why is a demon associated with philosophy? Philosophy is often regarded as noble and virtuous, a pursuit of wisdom, truth, and understanding. Yet here it's tied to a demonic figure, someone who represents the forbidden, the otherworldly, and perhaps even the dangerous. This paradox is at the heart of what makes Buer so fascinating. He's not just a teacher of knowledge. He's a symbol of its complexities, its double-edged nature, and its power to transform or corrupt those who seek it. Let's begin by thinking about what philosophy represents. At its core, philosophy is the love of wisdom, an unrelenting drive to understand the nature of reality, morality, existence, and knowledge itself. Yet throughout history, this pursuit hasn't always been welcomed. In fact, it's often been seen as subversive, even dangerous. Consider figures like Socrates, who was executed for corrupting the youth of Athens and challenging traditional beliefs. Or Galileo, whose astronomical discoveries contradicted church doctrine, forcing him to recant under threat of death. These moments in history reflect a recurring theme, that those who seek knowledge often walk a fine line between illumination and damnation. The pursuit of truth, noble as it may be, has the power to disrupt established systems, challenge authority, and destabilize the status quo. Now think about Buer in this context. As a demon who teaches philosophy, he embodies the very essence of intellectual inquiry. But because he's a demon, his knowledge is tied to danger and the forbidden. Summoning Buer is no casual endeavor. It comes with risks, both moral and existential. In this way, Buer represents a kind of Faustian bargain, the promise of enlightenment tempered by the fear of what such enlightenment might cost. Buer's symbolism becomes even more intriguing when we consider the dual nature of knowledge itself. Knowledge can be a tool for liberation, offering insight, understanding, and the power to improve the world. But it can also be a source of corruption, hubris, and destruction. This duality is central to many of humanity's oldest myths and stories. For instance, in the Bible, we all know this story, the story of Adam and Eve revolving around the tree of knowledge. The serpent tempts Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, promising that it will make her like God, knowing good and evil. This act of defiance grants humanity wisdom, but it also leads to their expulsion from paradise. The message is clear. Knowledge is both a gift and a curse. It elevates us, but it also comes with consequences. Similarly, in Greek mythology, the tale of Prometheus highlights this tension. Prometheus defies the gods to bring fire, symbolizing knowledge and technology, to humanity. While this act benefits humanity, it also leads to Prometheus's eternal punishment. Stories like these remind us that the pursuit of wisdom often comes at a price, whether it's alienation, suffering, or the destabilization of existing power structures. Buer fits neatly into this tradition. As a philosophical demon, He offers enlightenment in areas that are both practical and profound: ethics, science, and healing. Yet his demonic nature suggests that this knowledge isn't free. There's always a risk, whether it's the moral compromise of summoning a demon or the existential weight of grappling with difficult questions. One of the most compelling aspects of Buer's role is his connection to moral philosophy. Philosophy, by its very nature, is a subversive discipline. It questions assumptions, challenges dogma, and forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. In this sense, it's not surprising that Buer, a demon, a figure of rebellion and defiance, would be linked to philosophical inquiry. Throughout history, philosophy has been a tool for challenging authority. Think of the Enlightenment, when thinkers like Voltaire, Spinoza, and Kant questioned the Church's monopoly on truth. Their ideas about reason, morality, and human rights laid the groundwork for modern secularism and democracy, but they were also deeply controversial in their time. Even today, philosophy continues to provoke and unsettle. It asks us to re-examine our beliefs, to consider perspectives that might make us uncomfortable, and to accept that the world is often more complex than we like it to be. Buer's role as a moral philosopher ties directly into this tradition. He represents the kind of wisdom that doesn't just provide answers. It forces us to ask harder questions. And in doing so, he embodies the subversive power of philosophy, the ability to disrupt and transform our understanding of the world. Now let's turn to Buer's physical form, the gangly 5 goat legs, which offers another layer of symbolism. And I'm sure any of you who are into any of this sort of stuff will have cottoned on to this already. In the Ars Goetia, Buer is described as having the head of a lion surrounded by 5 goat-like legs, radiating outward in a star formation. This image is both bizarre and striking, a combination of the animalistic and the geometric. The lion's head is a symbol of strength, authority, and wisdom, qualities often associated with leadership and intellectual power. Lions have long been seen as kingly creatures, representing both the courage to face challenges and the ability to command respect. In Buer's case, the lion's head suggests his role as a guide and teacher, someone who possesses knowledge and the authority to share it. The 5 goat legs, meanwhile, are arranged in a star pattern, creating a sense of balance and motion. This geometric form could symbolize the interconnectedness of the knowledge Buer provides. Philosophy, science, medicine, and ethics are not isolated disciplines, but parts of a greater whole. The number 5 itself carries symbolic weight, often representing harmony, balance, and the human experience. At the same time, the goat legs evoke themes of rebellion and defiance. Goats are often associated with the wild, untamed aspects of nature, and in Christian symbolism, they've been linked to sin and temptation. This duality, the lion as a symbol of wisdom and the goat as a symbol of rebellion, reflects the tension at the heart of Buer's character. He's a figure of both order and subversion, a being who embodies the complexities of knowledge itself. Finally, we have to ask, what does it mean to have a demon as a teacher? In many traditions, demons are portrayed as tempters or tricksters, beings who lead humans astray. But Buer is different. His role is not to deceive, but to enlighten. He teaches moral philosophy. He teaches natural science. These are disciplines that are fundamentally about understanding and improving the world. In this sense, Buer challenges our assumptions about good and evil. He suggests that wisdom and morality aren't always black and white, that they exist in a space of nuance and complexity. After all, isn't that what philosophy teaches us? That there are no easy answers, only better questions. Buer's role as a teacher also highlights the transformative power of knowledge. Summoning Buer isn't just about gaining information, it's about undergoing a process of growth and change. But like any transformation, it comes with risks. The knowledge he offers may be illuminating, but it can also unsettle, destabilize, and force us to confront uncomfortable truths. And perhaps that's the ultimate lesson of Buer, that true wisdom is never easy, and it always comes at a cost. So Buer isn't just a demon. He's a symbol of the human condition, of our eternal quest for understanding and the challenges that come with it. But what does his story mean for us today? How do we navigate the ethical and existential dilemmas that come with the pursuit of knowledge? That's what we're going to explore next. We've explored who Buer is, his origins, and the symbolic significance of a philosophical demon. But what exactly does he teach? Buer isn't just a figure of intrigue because of his strange form or paradoxical nature. He's also described as a master of profound and practical knowledge. In this section, we'll dive into the teachings of Buer as outlined in the Ars Goetia. What does his wisdom encompass, and what might it mean for those who summon him? We'll explore three key areas: moral philosophy, natural science, and medicine, each of which offers insights not only into his character, but also into the nature of human understanding. First and foremost, Buer is described as a teacher of moral philosophy. But what does that mean? To answer this, we need to consider the time period in which the Ars Goetia was written. Moral philosophy during the Renaissance and early modern periods, the era when Buer's description was likely compiled, was deeply intertwined with questions of ethics, religion, and human behavior. It sought to answer the fundamental question: how should we live? Buer's association with moral philosophy positions him as a guide in navigating the complexities of human existence. His teachings likely touch on themes such as justice, virtue, and the consequences of our actions. But here's the twist. As a demon, Buer's perspective might not align with traditional moral frameworks. In fact, his teachings could challenge the established religious and societal norms of the time, offering a more relativistic or unconventional view of morality. This makes sense when we consider the function of demons in demonological texts. They often serve as embodiments of forbidden or subversive ideas, concepts that were considered dangerous but perhaps necessary for a deeper understanding of the world. Buer's moral philosophy, then, might push a summoner to question what is truly right or wrong. Is morality absolute, or is it shaped by context? Can actions deemed sinful by society actually serve a higher purpose? These are the kinds of questions that Buer's teachings might provoke. From a modern perspective, we might think of Buer as a philosopher who helps us navigate moral grey areas. Consider contemporary debates about ethics in technology, medicine, or climate change. These are not questions with simple answers. They require us to weigh competing values, consider long-term consequences, and accept that there may be no perfect solution. Buer's teachings remind us that morality is often a balancing act, one that requires both reason and empathy. However, summoning Buer for moral guidance isn't without its risks. After all, what happens if the wisdom he offers challenges your deepest beliefs? What if it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourselves or the world? This is the double-edged sword of Buer's teachings. Buer's second area of expertise is natural philosophy, or what we call now the natural sciences. During the time of the Ars Goetia, natural philosophy encompassed a wide range of disciplines, including astronomy, physics, biology, and alchemy. It was a study of the natural world and the laws that govern it, a pursuit that sought to uncover the secrets of the universe. Buer's role as a teacher of natural sciences suggests that he offers knowledge about the physical world. This might include understanding the movements of the stars, the properties of elements, or the principles of life and death. For a summoner, such knowledge could be immensely valuable. Imagine learning the secrets of the cosmos or gaining insights into the fundamental building blocks of reality. In this sense, Buer represents the human desire to explore, discover, and make sense of the world around us. During the Renaissance, natural philosophy was undergoing a transformation. Thinkers like Copernicus, Galileo, and Newton were challenging traditional views of the universe, replacing superstition with empirical observation and mathematical reasoning. This shift marked the birth of modern science, but it was also fraught with controversy. Many of these thinkers faced persecution for their ideas, which were seen as threats to religious orthodoxy. Buer's connection to natural science reflects this historical tension. As a demon, he symbolizes the forbidden nature of certain kinds of knowledge, the kind that challenges authority and disrupts the status quo. Yet his teachings also highlight the importance of curiosity and inquiry. In this way, Buer embodies the spirit of Renaissance thinkers, whose work laid the foundation for our modern understanding of the world. But just as with moral philosophy, the natural sciences taught by Buer come with ethical implications. Science is a powerful tool, and it can be used for both good and ill. Consider the development of technologies like nuclear power or artificial intelligence. These advancements hold incredible potential, but they also raise difficult questions about responsibility, consequences, and the limits of human ambition. Buer's teachings remind us that knowledge is not inherently good or evil. It is how we use it that matters. The third area of Buer's expertise is medicine, specifically the medicinal use of herbs. I've just got this image in my head of Buer just smoking a massive fucking spliff. But I'm gonna park that. This aligns. I've gone off the rails again. This aligns with his broader role as a teacher of practical and life-enhancing knowledge. During the time of the Ars Goetia, medicine was closely tied to natural philosophy, relying on herbal remedies, alchemical preparations, and an understanding of the body's relationship to the natural world. Buer's association with medicine is particularly interesting because it positions him as a healer, a role that seems very much at odds with the traditional image of a demon. Yet this duality makes perfect sense when we consider the symbolic nature of demons in demonology. They are not purely evil. Rather, they embody the complexity of the human experience, including our capacity for both creation and destruction. On a symbolic level, Buer's teachings about medicine can be seen as a metaphor for healing not just the body, but also the mind and soul. His knowledge of herbs and remedies might be interpreted as a form of spiritual or psychological guidance, a way to restore balance and harmony to one's life. However, as with Buer's other teachings, his role as a healer raises rather important ethical questions. Medicine is a form of power, and power can be misused. Consider the history of medicine, which includes both incredible advancements and rather dark chapters, such as unethical experiments or the exploitation of vulnerable populations. Buer's teachings force us to grapple with the responsibilities that come with the ability to heal. Are we using this knowledge to help others or to serve our own interests? What's surprising about Buer's teachings is how interconnected they are. Understanding the natural world, for example, helps us make ethical decisions about how to live within it. Similarly, advances in medicine often raise philosophical questions about the value of life, the meaning of suffering, and the boundaries of human intervention. In this way, Buer's teachings reflect a rather holistic approach to knowledge. They remind us that wisdom is not about mastering one subject in isolation. It is about seeing the bigger picture, understanding the relationships between different areas of inquiry, and using that understanding to navigate the complexities of life. But of course, as with all things in demonology, Buer's teachings come at a cost. Summoning him requires not just the right rituals, but also the willingness to confront the unknown. His knowledge might provide answers, but it can also raise difficult questions. And once you've learned something, you can't unlearn it. This is the paradox of wisdom. It expands our understanding, but it also complicates our existence. Ultimately, Buer's teachings are a mirror to the human condition. They reflect our endless curiosity, our desire to make sense of the world, and our struggle to balance the pursuit of knowledge with the need for ethics and humility. In this sense, Buer is a symbol of the challenges and opportunities that come with being human. So what does it mean to summon a demon like Buer, to seek out his wisdom despite the risks? In the next section, we'll explore the ethical and existential dilemmas of engaging with forbidden knowledge, and what Buer's story can teach us about the nature of power and responsibility. So far, we've explored Buer's identity as a philosophical demon, his profound teachings, and the vast knowledge that he offers. But now we must confront the inevitable question: should you summon him? The act of calling upon a demon, especially one as seemingly benevolent and enlightening as Buer, is not without consequences. What ethical dilemmas arise when you summon a being like Buer? What does it mean to seek wisdom from a demon? And perhaps most importantly, how does this act of summoning reflect on our own humanity? Let's begin with the most obvious temptation: knowledge. Throughout history, the pursuit of wisdom has been one of humanity's most noble and dangerous endeavors. Knowledge has the power to liberate, to heal, to advance civilizations. But as we've discussed before, it also has the potential to disrupt, corrupt, and destroy. The idea of summoning Buer to access his teachings plays directly into this dynamic. On the surface, it seems like a pragmatic decision. After all, who wouldn't want to learn the secrets of morality, science, and healing from a supernatural source? But the very fact that Buer is a demon complicates this pursuit. In many ways, summoning Buer mirrors the archetypal story of making a pact with the devil. The summoner seeks wisdom or power, but there's always a cost. Even if Buer doesn't explicitly demand payment in the form of one's soul, the act of summoning him carries inherent risk. The summoner must grapple with the moral implications of calling upon a demonic entity, as well as the potential consequences of wielding the knowledge that Buer provides. And this raises an important question. Is the pursuit of knowledge worth the ethical and spiritual compromises that it might entail? On a fundamental level, summoning a demon is generally considered morally questionable, especially within the framework of religious traditions. In Christianity, for instance, demons are viewed as aspects of evil, beings who exist to lead humanity astray. By summoning Buer, one might be seen as aligning with these forces, even if the intent is to gain wisdom or enlightenment. But what if we set aside religious dogma for a moment? Even from a secular perspective, summoning Buer involves a certain level of moral ambiguity. On one hand, the act could be seen as a form of intellectual bravery, a willingness to confront the unknown and seek knowledge wherever it might be found. On the other hand, it raises questions about the means by which we acquire wisdom. Does the end justify the means? Is it ethical to call upon a being traditionally associated with malevolence, even if the goal is noble? Buer complicates this dilemma because he doesn't fit the stereotypical image of a destructive demon. His teachings are constructive, focusing on improving the human condition. But his very nature forces us to confront our own boundaries. How far are we willing to go in the pursuit of truth? And at what point does curiosity become recklessness? Another key ethical issue in summoning Buer revolves around the power dynamic between the summoner and the demon. According to the Ars Goetia, summoning a demon like Buer requires elaborate rituals, protective circles, and symbols designed to bind the demon to the summoner's will, which is something we will not be going into in this episode, just putting it out there. In essence, the summoner seeks to control Buer, compelling him to teach or reveal his secrets. But again, this raises huge ethical questions. Is it ever right to compel another being, even a demon, to act against their will? The summoner might argue that Buer, as a demon, exists to serve humanity, or that the act of summoning is merely a transaction. However, others might see this as a form of subjugation, a way of asserting dominance over a powerful entity. In this context, summoning Buer becomes less about seeking wisdom and more about exploiting supernatural power. This power dynamic is further complicated by the possibility that Buer, as a demon, might not be entirely trustworthy. While he is said to be calm and orderly, his ultimate motivations are unclear. Is he genuinely offering wisdom out of a sense of duty, or is he subtly manipulating the summoner for his own purposes? This uncertainty adds another layer to the ethical dilemma. By attempting to control Buer, the summoner might inadvertently become the one who is controlled. Beyond the moral questions, summoning Buer carries a significant psychological risk. The knowledge he offers can be transformative, but as we've seen in myths and literature, such knowledge often comes with a heavy burden. Consider the story of Faust, who makes a pact with the devil for unlimited knowledge and power. While he gains incredible insights, the price he pays is his soul and ultimately his peace of mind. Similarly, summoning Buer might provide the summoner with profound wisdom, but it could also lead to existential crises, moral dilemmas, or an overwhelming sense of responsibility. What do you do with the knowledge that Buer provides? How do you live with the weight of understanding truths that others may never comprehend? The psychological toll is particularly relevant when we think about Buer's teachings in moral philosophy. Imagine being confronted with a moral framework that challenges everything you've ever believed, or discovering truths about the natural world that force you to reevaluate your place in the universe. These are not easy revelations to process, and the summoner must be prepared to face the consequences of their newfound understanding. While summoning demons might seem like an ancient or fantastical concept, the ethical dilemmas it raises are surprisingly relevant today. In many ways, Buer's teachings can be compared to contemporary sources of knowledge that are both powerful and controversial. Take artificial intelligence, for example. AI has the potential to revolutionize industries, solve complex problems, and massively improve human lives. But it also raises ethical questions about privacy, control, and the potential for misuse. Similarly, advances in genetic engineering, such as CRISPR technology, offer the promise of curing diseases and enhancing human capabilities. Yet they also force us to grapple with moral dilemmas about playing God and the unintended consequences of altering life itself. Summoning Buer can be seen as a metaphor for engaging with these modern sources of knowledge. In both cases, the pursuit of wisdom is fraught with risks and uncertainties. And in both cases, we are forced to confront the question, how do we ensure that the knowledge we seek is used responsibly? At the heart of the ethical dilemma lies the responsibility of the summoner. Summoning Buer is not a casual act, and it's a choice that carries significant ethical and moral implications, not just for the summoner, but for the world at large. One of the key responsibilities is to use the knowledge they gain for good. This might mean applying Buer's teachings to improve the lives of others, advance human understanding, or solve pressing problems. But it also requires humility and self-awareness. The summoner must recognize their own limitations and resist the temptation to use their newfound knowledge for selfish or destructive purposes. Ultimately, summoning Buer is a test, not just of one's intellectual curiosity, but of one's character. It forces the summoner to confront their own values, motivations, and capacity for ethical decision-making. And in doing so, it reveals the true cost of wisdom, the willingness to take responsibility for the consequence of one's actions. In the end, the ethical dilemma of summoning Buer is not just about demons or magic. It's about what it means to be human. It's about our insatiable desire for knowledge, our struggle to balance curiosity with caution, and our capacity to navigate the moral complexities of the world. Buer, as a philosophical demon, challenges us to ask difficult questions. How far are we willing to go in the pursuit of truth? What are we willing to sacrifice? And most importantly, can we live with the answers? Having explored Buer's teachings and the ethical dilemmas of summoning him, we now turn to a rather compelling question. What does Buer mean in today's world? While he originates in medieval demonology, Buer's symbolism and teachings resonate with many modern ideas, dilemmas, and cultural phenomena. Whether we look at his role as a teacher of knowledge, his connections to forbidden wisdom, or his enduring presence in popular culture, Buer's influence feels surprisingly relevant in our contemporary lives. In this section, we'll explore how Buer can be understood in modern contexts, from philosophy and science to technology, ethics, and pop culture. Let's start with the broader concept of Buer as a symbol of knowledge. In the 21st century, we are living through an unprecedented age of information. Knowledge is no longer hidden in grimoires or locked away in the minds of scholars. It's available to anyone with an internet connection. Yet with this abundance of information comes a new set of challenges: misinformation, ethical dilemmas, and the question of how to apply knowledge responsibly. In many ways, Buer represents the dual nature of this information age. He offers wisdom that can heal and enlighten, but he also carries the risk of destabilization and misuse. Let's look at AI again, for example. Like Buer's teachings in the natural sciences, AI provides incredible opportunities for progress, but it also raises ethical questions. How do we ensure AI is used ethically? Who decides what knowledge should be accessible? And how do we manage the unintended consequences of such powerful tools? Buer reminds us that knowledge is not inherently good or bad. It is how we use it that defines its impact. In a world where the lines between wisdom and recklessness often blur, his story serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of discernment, humility, and ethical responsibility. Another way to understand Buer in modern context is to consider his role as a teacher of moral philosophy. In demonology, Buer embodies the subversive power of philosophy, the ability to question assumptions, challenge authority, and explore moral grey areas. These themes remain deeply relevant today, particularly in an era of cultural and political polarization. Take, for example, debates about social justice or the role of technology in society. These are not issues with simple answers. They require us to grapple with competing values, examine our assumptions, and confront uncomfortable truths. In this sense, Buer's teachings can be seen as a metaphor for the kind of philosophical thinking we need in today's world. He forces us to ask hard questions. What does it mean to act ethically in a complex world? How do we balance individual freedom with collective responsibility? And how do we navigate the tension between tradition and progress? Buer's subversive nature also resonates with the growing distrust of traditional institutions. Just as Buer challenges the authority of religious and societal norms, many modern thinkers are questioning the legitimacy of political systems, corporations, and even academic institutions. In a world where authority is increasingly scrutinized, Buer's role as a challenger of orthodoxy feels especially timely. One of Buer's most intriguing attributes is his expertise in medicine. In the Ars Goetia, he is described as a healer, a role that feels both surprising and paradoxical for a demon, really. Yet this duality makes him a powerful symbol for the ethical dilemmas that continue to shape modern medicine. Consider the rapid advancements in modern medical technology, from gene editing to artificial organs. These breakthroughs hold incredible promise, but they also raise difficult questions. Who has access to these technologies? How do we ensure they are used responsibly? And what happens when the boundaries between healing and enhancement begin to blur? Buer's teachings remind us that medicine is not just a technical discipline. It's also a deeply moral one, requiring us to balance innovation with compassion and progress with caution. Buer's focus on herbal medicine is also worth considering in today's context. As we face a global health crisis and the ongoing threat of antibiotic resistance, there is renewed interest in natural remedies and traditional healing practices. Buer's association with herbal medicine can be seen as a reminder of the importance of holistic approaches to health, approaches that recognize the interconnectedness of the mind, the body, and the environment. But of course, Buer's influence isn't limited to philosophy or science. He also appears in modern pop culture, often as a figure of mystery and complexity. For example, in many role-playing games and fantasy novels, Buer is depicted as a wise yet enigmatic figure, someone who offers knowledge at a price. This portrayal highlights the duality of his nature, a being who is both a source of enlightenment and a potential threat. These representations often play with the idea of moral ambiguity, forcing characters and players to question their own values and motivations. Buer's distinctive appearance also makes him a memorable figure in visual media. His lion's head and star-shaped form evoke a sense of otherworldly power, while his associations with wisdom adds depth to his character. In this way, Buer serves as a reminder that demons in popular culture are not always purely evil. They are often complex, multi-dimensional beings who reflect our own struggles and aspirations. Finally, let's consider Buer as a metaphor for the human experience. His teachings in moral philosophy, natural sciences, and medicine represent different facets of our own quest for understanding. And his dual nature, both enlightening and dangerous, mirrors the complexity of our own minds. In psychology, this duality can be understood through the concept of the shadow, a term coined by Carl Jung to describe the unconscious aspects of our personality. The shadow contains both our deepest fears and our greatest potential, and integrating it is essential for personal growth. In this sense, summoning Buer can be seen as a symbolic act of confronting the shadow, a willingness to face the unknown, embrace complexity, and accept the responsibilities that come with greater self-awareness. Buer's teachings also resonate with modern emphasis on interdisciplinary thinking. In today's world, solving complex problems requires us to draw on multiple areas of expertise, from science and technology to ethics and philosophy. Buer's interconnected approach to knowledge serves as a powerful reminder that wisdom is not about mastering one discipline. It's about understanding the relationships between different areas of inquiry and applying that understanding to the challenges of our time. So what can Buer teach us about navigating the complexities of modern life? First, he reminds us of the importance of curiosity and intellectual bravery. In a world that often prioritizes conformity and convenience, Buer challenges us to ask hard questions, seek deeper truths, and embrace the uncertainty that comes with genuine inquiry. Second, Buer highlights the ethical responsibilities that come with knowledge. Whether we're exploring new technologies, making medical advancements, or addressing social issues, we must approach these challenges with humility and a commitment to doing what's right. Buer's teachings remind us that wisdom is not just about understanding the world. It's about making choices that reflect our values and contribute to the greater good. Finally, Buer encourages us to embrace complexity. In a culture that often seeks easy answers and binary solutions, he reminds us that the truth is rarely simple. By engaging with the moral, scientific, and existential dilemmas he represents, we can develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Buer's enduring relevance in modern contexts is a testament to the nature of his teachings. Whether we encounter him in philosophy, science, medicine, or pop culture, he challenges us to think critically, act ethically, and embrace the complexity of the human experience. In this sense, Buer is more than a figure from demonology. He's a symbol of our own potential, our struggles, and our quest for wisdom in an ever-changing world. In the end, Buer's story is one of duality, transformation, and responsibility. He reminds us that knowledge is a powerful force, one that can heal, enlighten, and inspire, but also destabilize, corrupt, and challenge us in unexpected ways. So how will we use the knowledge we seek? That's the ultimate question Buer leaves us with, and it's one we must answer for ourselves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have to say on the subject of Buer, the demon of philosophy. We've travelled quite far in this episode, from the strange and fascinating figure of Buer in the Ars Goetia, through his teachings and the ethical dilemmas of summoning him, to his surprising relevance in the modern world. Now, as we approach the end of our journey, it is time to reflect on what Buer represents, not just as a demon, but as a symbol of the human condition. Buer's story is a reminder that knowledge has always been a double-edged sword. From the myths of Prometheus and the serpent in Eden to the ethical dilemmas of AI and genetic engineering, the pursuit of wisdom has consistently forced us to confront our deepest fears and our highest aspirations. Buer, in all his paradoxical glory, embodies this tension. He's a teacher and a tempter, a healer and a destabilizer, a figure who challenges us to think critically about the paths we choose and the prices we're willing to pay for the knowledge we seek. More than just a character in demonology, Buer serves as a mirror to our own lives. His teachings aren't just abstract concepts, they are the very tools we use to make sense of our world, solve problems, and build a better future. And yet, as Buer's story shows us, these tools come with responsibilities, complexity, and risk. At the heart of Buer's tale lies an essential question. How do we navigate the ethical challenges of knowledge? In summoning Buer, the magician is forced to confront not only the risks of dealing with a demon, but also the moral implications of seeking power through unconventional means. This dilemma is as relevant today as it was in the time of the Ars Goetia. Whether we're unlocking the secrets of the genome, harnessing artificial intelligence, or confronting existential threats like climate change, the pursuit of knowledge comes with ethical questions. How do we ensure that the wisdom we gain is used for good? How do we avoid the hubris that so often accompanies great power? The pursuit of knowledge isn't just about what we discover, it's also about who we become in the process. Are we guided by curiosity, compassion, and a desire to help others? Or are we driven by ambition, fear, or the need for control? These are the questions that every seeker of wisdom must face, whether they're summoning a demon or tackling the challenges of the modern world. One of the most fascinating aspects of Buer is his dual nature. He's a demon, yet he offers teachings that can heal and enlighten. He represents the forbidden, yet his knowledge is deeply practical and valuable. This duality reflects the complexities of life itself. Just as Buer is not entirely good or evil, the choices we face in life are rarely black and white. They exist in shades of grey, requiring us to weigh competing values, embrace uncertainty, and find a balance between opposing forces. Buer's duality also speaks to the human experience. Like the summoner who calls upon him, we are beings of contradictions. We seek wisdom, yet we fear what it might reveal. We crave power, yet we are wary of its consequences. And we strive for progress, even as we struggle to navigate its ethical implications. In this sense, Buer is a reflection of our own struggles, desires, and potential. And so we come to the question I asked at the beginning of this episode. If you had the chance to summon Buer, would you? Would you risk the unknown to gain his wisdom, or would you hold back, unsure of the cost? There's no right or wrong answer here, but the question itself is worth pondering. It forces us to reflect on what we value most, how far we're willing to go in the pursuit of knowledge, and what we're prepared to sacrifice along the way. Whether you see Buer as a literal demon, a symbolic figure, or simply an interesting story, his lessons are deeply relevant to our lives today. He reminds us to approach knowledge with humility, to balance curiosity with caution, and to recognize the ethical responsibilities that come with power. And perhaps that's the ultimate message of Buer's story. That wisdom is not about having all the answers, it's about asking the right questions. It's about embracing complexity, seeking truth, and using what we learn to create a better, more compassionate world. If we can do that, then maybe, just maybe, we are worthy of the knowledge we seek. Thank you to all of you for joining me on this deep dive into the rather peculiar figure of Buer. I hope that this episode has kind of sparked some thoughts and some questions, or maybe even a bit of existential curiosity in you. Of course, if you've enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear your thoughts. Would you summon Buer? Do you see him as a symbol, a warning, or something else entirely? And if you really enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing it with others who might find it interesting. Your support helps us to continue to bring you this sort of content. As always, if anything in this episode has resonated with you in any way, then I would love to hear from you. You can share your stories via Patreon at patreon.com/theobservingeye or on social media. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@theobservingeye and on TikTok and Instagram with the handle @theobservingeye as well. You can also visit our website, theobservingeye.com, and you can even email me at david@theobservingeye.com. Take care, everybody. Much love, and I'll catch you soon.
You've been listening to The Observing Eye. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I hope it's been useful. And if you're interested in any more of my writing or work around psychology, philosophy, and general day-to-day living, please go and take a look at my Substack, which is theobservingeye.com. And that's I as in the letter, not I as in the gelatinous organ through which you see. Take care, everybody. Much love, and I'll catch you soon.